Before dawn, on a morning in October of 1942, a young soldier crawled on his elbows between two cratered tenements in the center of Stalingrad. He carried a rifle wrapped in a strip of gray cloth and a small canvas pouch with a heel of black bread inside it. He worked his way into a heap of bricks at the base of a collapsed wall, drew the rifle close to his cheek, and stopped moving. The cold came up through the stones. The Volga, behind him, was already crusted with the first ice of the season. He did not shift, did not cough, did not look down at his hands. For 9 hours he lay like that, breathing through his nose into the wool of his collar. On the 10th hour, across the street, a German captain stepped to a third-floor window to light a cigarette. He never finished it. The soldier in the rubble was 27 years old. His name was Vasily Grigorievich Zaytsev. This is the story of Vasily Zaytsev. He was born on the 23rd of March, 1915, in a village called Yeleninskoye, in the eastern slopes of the Ural Mountains. His father was a peasant, and his grandfather, Andrei, was a hunter. In a country and a century where most boys learn to read before they learn to shoot, Vasily learned to shoot first. The story he told later in the memoir he wrote in the 1950s was simple. He was 12 years old. His grandfather handed him an old single-shot Burden rifle, a weapon older than the boy holding it, taller than him when he stood it on its butt. They walked into the larch forest above the village in the blue light before dawn. The grandfather did not speak much. He pointed once, at a gray shape moving between two trees, and whispered 3 words that Zaytsev would remember for the rest of his life. Breathe out, slowly. Then the trigger. The wolf went down with a single shot. That night, his grandfather skinned it and gave him the pelt. The wolf was the first. There would be many more. The boy grew into a quiet, methodical young man with a clerk's hands and a hunter's eyes. He went to bookkeeping school. He kept his ledgers neatly. In 1937, he was conscripted into the Soviet Navy and sent 4,000 miles east to the Pacific Fleet, where he spent the next several years not as a marksman but as a paymaster, signing chits for sailors at a naval base near Vladivostok. He was still there, behind a desk, on the 22nd of June, 1941, the morning the German army crossed the Soviet border. For more than a year, he asked to be sent west. He wrote letter after letter. Every time the answer was the same. Clerks were needed where clerks were. It was not until the autumn of 1942, when the army was scraping for every body it could move toward a single ruined city on the Volga, that his transfer was approved. He was 27 years old. He had never fired his rifle at another man. He started keeping a notebook. Stalingrad in the autumn of 42 was not a city anymore. It was a long, narrow strip of broken stone and twisted iron pressed against the western bank of the Volga, 8 kilometers deep, 2.5 kilometers wide in some places, less in others. The German 6th Army held 3/4 of it. The Soviet 62nd Army, under General Vasily Zhukov, held the rest, a thin crust of riverbank, a few factories at the north end, the central railway station, the Mamiev Hill that changed hands more than a dozen times. Zaytsev crossed the Volga at night on a flat-bottomed ferry, under the slow drift of German flares. The boats took fire on the way over. Some did not arrive. He stepped off into mud that was already half frozen and was assigned to the 1047th Rifle Regiment of the 284th Tomsk Rifle Division. His commanding officers noticed, quickly, that the quiet Siberian could put 5 rounds inside a tin cup at 300 meters. They gave him a sniper rifle, a Mosin-Nagant with a 4-power scope, and they let him go to work. What followed was not heroic in the way the films would later make it. It was cold. It was hungry. It was sleep deprivation past the point where a man can keep his hands from shaking. He learned to find a position before light and not to leave it until full dark. He learned to read the windows of a ruined building the way other men read a face. He learned to wait. Between the first week of October 1942 and the third week of January 1943, the Soviet 62nd Army would credit him, officially, with 225 confirmed kills. Some later accounts raised the number 242 in one Soviet listing, and figures approaching 400 in popular biographies. Zaytsev himself, in his memoir, was careful. He counted what he could prove. He wrote later that he could still see the faces. He did not write it as a boast. What Chukhov's staff valued most was not the kill count. It was something he started doing almost by accident. Between actions, in basements lit by candle stubs and the occasional naked bulb wired to a captured German battery, Zaytsev began teaching. He took young soldiers, most of them no older than 20, most of them with rifle drill but no field craft, and he showed them how to lie still, how to choose a hide, how to dummy a position so that the enemy fired at a helmet on a stick while the real shooter was 40 meters to the left, how to wait until the second man, not the first, stepped through a doorway. He called his pupils Zykata, a Russian word that means little hairs, Leverets. Roughly 30 of them passed through the informal school he kept up through the worst weeks of the battle. The unit records credit those snipers, collectively, with somewhere near 3,000 enemy killed. He kept a list in his notebook of which of his Leverets came back at the end of each day and which did not. Most did not last long. The ones who did learned, from him, that the work was not glamorous and was not clean. It was a job. It was meant to be done well. It was not meant to be enjoyed. There is one story about Vasily Zaytsev that almost everyone knows. It is the story of a duel. In the version that ran in the Soviet Army newspaper Red Star in the winter of '42, and in the version Zaytsev himself told in his memoir, the German High Command, alarmed at the loss of so many officers to Soviet snipers in Stalingrad, sent the head of their sniper school, a man named in some sources as Major Erwin Koenig, in others as Heinz Thorvald, to find and kill the man the Russians were calling the Hunter. For 3 days the two stalked each other through the rubble. On the fourth day, Zaytsev's partner raised a glove on a stick. The German fired. The muzzle flash gave away his position. Zaytsev put one round through the scope of his rifle and out the back of his head. It is a perfect story. It became the climax of the 2001 film Enemy at the Gates. Whether the duel ever happened the way the newspapers said it did is another question. No German record has ever surfaced of a sniper school commandant matching Koenig's description being sent to Stalingrad, or being killed there. The historian Antony Beevor, working through both Soviet and German archives in the 1990s, concluded that the duel was almost certainly an elaboration, a real pattern of cat-and-mouse hunting between Soviet and German marksmen, distilled by a wartime propaganda department into a single dramatic story with a single named villain. Zaytsev believed it. He may even have lived a version of it. But the man behind the rifle on the German side, if there ever was a single man, has never been identified. What is not in doubt is the work he did, day after day, in a city that had been ground down to its skeleton. That part needed no embellishment. In the third week of January, 1943, a German mortar shell landed close enough to him that the blast tore at his face and blinded him in both eyes. He was evacuated across the Volga, then east all the way to Tashkent, where a celebrated Soviet ophthalmologist named Vladimir Filatov operated on him through the spring of that year and gave him back his sight. He returned to the war. He fought through to the end of it. On the 22nd of February 1943, while he was still in the hospital, he was named a hero of the Soviet Union. After the war, he did not become a soldier or a writer or a celebrity. He became the director of a textile factory in Kiev. He raised a family. He spoke sometimes to veterans groups when he was asked. He wrote his memoir slowly over years in the 1950s. He died on the 15th of December, 1991, 2 weeks before the Soviet Union itself dissolved. He was buried at first in a cemetery in Kiev. In 2006, with full military honors, his remains were carried home to Volgograd, the city that had once been Stalingrad, and reburied at the foot of the Mamiev-Kurgan Memorial, on the high ridge above the river where he had spent 4 months of his life learning to be perfectly still. He had written, near the end of his memoir, a single sentence that historians have quoted often since. He had been asked, as an old man, whether he was proud of what he had done. He answered carefully. He said that pride was the wrong word. He said he had done what had been needed, in a place where it had been needed, and that he hoped no boy would ever need to do it again. He was, in the end, what his grandfather had made him, in a forest above a village in the Urals, with an old burden rifle and 3 quiet words. A hunter, asked one terrible year to hunt the wrong kind of prey. If this story moved you, subscribe to follow The Untold Front. New stories every week.